Hello everyone, it's me again. So after I had posted up that video that kind of went into detail as to why I was a Catholic, and also as to why I believe in a God, someone made or someone mentioned to me that it's an argument from ignorance fallacy, and I kind of wanted to address that because that then became a serious concern of mine. Is this argument just an argument from ignorance? And so I carefully looked at it and I kind of wanted to share um, my thinking on this with you just in case there were some of you who were thinking that the same thing, that it was an argument from ignorance. First off, what is the argument from ignorance fallacy? It is where one accepts a position because of a lack of proof to the contrary. And what that means is, instead of accepting something because you can prove your position, you're accepting the position because nobody can prove the contrary of your position. So why is it a fallacy, or why is this a wrong way to look at things? Well, one should accept a position not because of a lack of proof to the contrary, but because of proof to the claim that you are making, which I think everyone would agree. If you're making a claim, you should be able to prove that claim and be able to accept the claim because of the proof, not because of a lack of proof. So what are some examples of arguments for the existence of God using the argument from ignorance fallacy? Which I will admit, there are many out there. I just don't think the one that I made necessarily is one. But we'll go ahead and start. So an example of an argument for the existence of God using the argument from ignorance fallacy would be the God of the gaps theory. There's people who would say, well, we can't explain why the sun goes around, I'm just making one up in my head. We can't explain why the earth goes around the sun. Therefore, God must cause the earth to go around the sun. And they're taking that position because of a lack of proof to anything else. Another position that easily comes to mind, or another argument that easily comes to mind, is something that a lot of Christians will say to an atheist: well, you can't prove God doesn't exist, therefore he must exist. Well, that's an argument from ignorance fallacy in a nutshell. You can't prove he doesn't, therefore he does. Now that we've kind of gotten those distinctions, I would like to address my particular argument. And if you want to see it, I would recommend going back and checking out my previous video, as I'm just going to be kind of assuming that you've seen it already and not going into explicit detail. The first reason why I don't think it falls into this category or this fallacy is because it starts from what we know. I start off with the existence of the I, of the person, of an individual. And I present some conclusions that I have made about the individual. And from there, I move on from, well, what can I know about each particular thing? Well, I know that this is true and this can't be true. And I continue to follow that line of thought of what must be true until I have reached my conclusion, until no further progress has been made. That is not an argument from ignorance. That's what an argument it should be. I start off from something that I know for a fact, the existence of the I. Break it down and follow each part to its conclusion, or figure out what each part signifies, and going on from there. Now, I think the reason why this counter argument came up is because I presented this argument as a Christian, as a Catholic. And so the claim could go along something along the lines of, well, James, you wanted to prove the existence of God, so therefore you assumed that, and that assumption affected your interpretation of the facts, or something along those lines. Um, well, the the thing is that when I first discovered this argument, it was actually something that I did all on my own. It was an argument that I discovered all on my own, with my own thought, with my own thinking. I had only read a little bit of Thomas Aquinas, mostly his 5 proofs, but I didn't want to use his 5 proofs because I was trying to debate with someone who denied the physical realm, he basically believed in the Matrix type thing. And I was wondering, well, and it seemed to me that almost all of Thomas Aquinas' proofs relied on the physical realm. And so I was wondering, well, is it possible to prove the existence of God without relying on the physical realm whatsoever? And that was the proof that I came up with. Now, did I really care if I proved the existence of God with the argument? No, it was a mental exercise. I was going to believe in God no matter what. I was just curious, could I prove it? So I don't think my motivation to have a proof of the existence of God got in the way. I honestly didn't care one way or the other. If I could do it, I was just kind of curious if it could be done. And the other thing is, that type of issue seems to me it seems to me, at least for the scientific method, you have a hypothesis. You state what you think the conclusion will be. So in other words, you have your conclusion already in your mind. And you move forward seeing if that theory is correct. In my situation, my hypothesis was there is a God. And so then I moved on with my thought experiment until I reached my conclusion. And the result of my thought experiment was there is a God. Now I will grant that from this thought experiment, I can't prove the Christian God. I can't prove any particular God. All I have done is just prove the existence of a being that is existence. And if you watch the rest of my previous video, you'll see where I then kind of go on to make an argument. But at that point, it then becomes more of a probability issue rather than a logical issue. So, in conclusion, I don't think, and I hope you see that as well, I honestly don't think the argument that I presented was an argument from ignorance fallacy. I do admit that there are many people who do make that fallacy, but I don't think that was the case with my particular argument. Now, I'm not saying I'm better, and I'm not saying that the other people are worse. I don't think that my particular argument fell in that category. That's all I'm saying here. I hope this helped answer some questions or some concerns that some of you may have had in regards to the previous video. Please like, subscribe, and share. I want to get these out there. That's why I'm posting these videos. I notice that a lot of times a lot of the animosity that happens is because of misunderstandings, and I want to try to clear up those misunderstandings if I can. Well, I hope you all have a good day, and I'll see you next time.